Hello, greetings. Welcome to another program in the series, Homo Politicus on Enterprise TV. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. The program is one that combs any and every issue that, as I always say, tends to raise the national adrenaline. Today, consider this: alleged unjust treatment. Northern Elders Forum, NEF, censures Nigerian military's ill treatment of Seaman Abbas for leading prayers. You know, in almost 64 years of being, Nigeria, the most populous country on the African continent, is enmeshed in a fratricidal war of nerves over what should unite rather than split it. Religion, for instance. The NEF is a quasi-political and socio-cultural association which seeks to promote the political interests of the people of northern Nigeria. And so, never afraid of stoking embers of controversy, the forum has weighed in on an alleged military's unjust treatment of serviceman Haruna Abbas, a military officer who got a 6-year imprisonment by the superior, Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Adamu, for gathering soldiers under his command for prayers. The forum has demanded swift justice for Abbas and his family. After all, the seaman was acting on his commitment to the moral and spiritual well-being of his troops, the Northern Elders Forum, NEF, added. Now, the military or the armed forces of any country, like any of its institutions, has its clear-cut code of ethics. There's also such a thing as religion and state neutrality, which means the impartiality of the state neutrality, which means the impartiality of the state, as I said, in matters of religion. Now, the state neither endorses nor criticizes religion. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is interested in the issue and has also promised to probe the matter. So we wait for his findings. But let's break the subject matter. And my discussant is the ever-breezy Cyril Abaku. Cyril is a broadcaster and a communications expert. Cyril, I welcome you one more time.
Thank you, Citizen Jones. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, let me start from the top. You know, when it comes to the issue of religion, we are told cynically, oh, it's too sensitive to go there. Do you always understand this viewpoint? It's too sensitive to discuss it.
Yes, the answer to the question is rather straightforward.
Okay.
The Constitution is clear. Yes, it's clear about guaranteeing or its intention to guarantee the secularity of the Nigerian state.
Is Nigeria a secular state?
By the intentment of the Constitution, we are. Or we ought to be.
Or because I would, okay, so yes. We are not okay.
We are
not a multi-religious country.
But yeah, but of course we are.
Okay.
In practice, culturally we are. You have Christians, you have Muslims, traditionalists, you have Baha'i faith, you have Buddhists in Nigeria.
Yeah.
You have people of all kinds of shades of beliefs.
And to a tolerable extreme, atheists.
In fact, if you want to undertake some sort of religious tourism, if you took Christianity, you find different shades and hues. Yes. Okay. So, I mean, I think the same thing that basically applies to Islam and the rest of them. But coming back to the question on the table, Nigeria intends to be a secular state or envisions ourselves as a secular state.
Okay.
But we haven't really succeeded with being secular because secularism or secularity has to be, I mean, you want to look at Gamal Abdel Nasser's Egypt or even the Iran of the Shah, for example, before he was deposed in 79. Yes, or even America, for example. Those are purely constitutional societies They don't bring religion into what they do, in the sense, in the way that it becomes written law. That this I want. No. They don't do that. But again, you cannot separate a man's religion from his life, or from what he does and doesn't do. So America, for example, again, just to lay that ground very clearly, is a secular society, but because it's a largely Christian nation, there's a heavy flare of Christian endeavor in everything they do. It's clear, all right. So, but coming back to the Nigerian situation and talking about Seaman Abbas, I want to. My real issue isn't that he led prayers.
Sorry, except that Nigeria is neither Christian nor Muslim country.
It is not. Oh. And for good measure, Nigeria ought to be, or maybe let me say, pretends to be secular. Because this same country pays money, people go for Hajj. The president doled out 90 billion naira for Hajj. So much for your secularism. When if in this secular you didn't give 10 million, 5,000, you gave a whopping 90 billion. That does, in fact, even if you are secular, that appears to be breaking with secularism actually. So now even Christians go on pilgrimage. So much that there is even the government pilgrims welfare board also. Now, but my real issue here is not that Seaman Abbas was leading prayers. Yes, because warfare isn't entirely a physical thing. And so for every war, for every battle that you encounter, you will need God to help you, frankly speaking. We've seen it in Bible times. We've seen it in the classic Greco-Roman empires. We've seen it in Babylon. We've seen it in Persia. Every conqueror has a God he bows to. But now the matter of Seaman Abbas, my concern is, does a superior in the armed forces have the power to order the detention or imprisonment of an inferior, of a junior colleague, indefinitely? Does he have that power? And how did it happen? Did he stand there? Is he court-martial? Was he court-martialed? Where did the superior derive the power to jail his junior officer? Just like that, just
okay. While we split heads over that, is it possible to broach the source of the issue? The subject matter, I understand, came on a popular TV show, Bereketa Family, yes, and so on. A media house is supposed to be a balancer, and not seen to give an unfair advantage
to a party dispute.
So, would you say the matter was thoroughly or dispassionately broached before the NEF took this stance? Or should it not have been so? If you understand what I mean.
I do. But I also know that Nigeria is not a normal country. It's not a regular situation. Nigeria is a country in which when you are disadvantaged, when you are an underprivileged fellow,
you plead a cause.
You have to throw everything you can at this, otherwise. Now, this woman in question, Hussaina, whose husband, Abbas, had been thrown behind bars, didn't report the matter to the NEF.
Which is supposed to have been the first
No. The NEF, the Nigerian, the Northern Elders Forum.
Okay.
They have no locus, really, in the matter.
It's a sociopolitical group.
Now, one would have asked, did she approach the naval authorities? Were that former petitions written? And did she get any answer from those quarters? 6 years is a long time.
In a man's life.
So
to put him away. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, did she, and even if, and this is the real issue, even if Mrs. Hussaina Abbas didn't write to the Naval, is it really possible? Are we such a country in which a senior officer has ordered, when we're not under military rule, a senior officer gave an order for a junior officer to be locked up, and they don't have the records to know who is in the jail for what. And I want to assume that there should be monthly or quarterly reviews of who is where in the Navy, okay? Who is where? Who and who are behind bars for whatever reason. There should be regular, 6 is a long, there should be regular audit. So even if it was the CNS, the Chief of Naval Staff, that give an order for somebody in, let's say, Bori or Bodo or Buguma or in Lagos to be put behind bars. There should be, from time to time, there should be somebody who comes, okay, how many and what are the offenses and how did they come to it, so that way there are records. And sorry, where necessary, questions should be asked. How come this person hasn't been tried? And the person, let the CNS be the one to write and say, I was one that gave the order, allow him to be there, so that if anything happens, the liability will be on me. But in this case, it appears that nobody could do anything about it, and everyone was just put. It's this thing about two people have land dispute. Somebody says, my son is in the army. Well, if they'll take him and you can't do anything about it. Nigeria has this pathological problem about the big man, that he won't be held accountable. He swims in impunity, and anything he does, nobody can question it. How did a young man be put away how was a young man how does a young man get put away like this? And no questions. The woman had to take the matter to a public forum. And suddenly now, did you see, House of Reps said they are going to investigate. Divine Headquarters, they are going to investigate. The Navy wants to investigate. But until this point,
which tells you something was wrong from the beginning.
No, our institutions they are rotten. If they were not, it's like in the private sector, an employer can suddenly say it's not going to pay you this month. You didn't like the performance. And you won't know until it is on the last of the month you hear that the employer said is not happy with you, and that he has screamed up 90% of your salary. Do your worst. Why are we such a country?
Okay, by choice.
No, but of course it is by choice.
Okay.
Look, citizen, sorry, because this matter is really painful, right? Do you know that between Sunday, when this woman laid the complaint, I think it was on Sunday, when the defense secretary spoke, when she spoke on Sunday, and today, Tuesday, is enough time for them to have, for the Navy to have immediately established preliminarily, did Suleiman, the superior officer, truly give the order for this man to be locked up? Yes. Were there grounds? No.
Otherwise, what's the offense?
And therefore, what's the offense? And therefore, suspending. Because you shouldn't be in the system when you're being investigated. Where does that leave us? Believe me, when I say this, believe me, this matter, this may be the most or the highest that it gets to. No, it's true. Now today we begin to Nigeria.
Okay. But let's tear the bag some more. Cyril, the subject of religion, very sensitive, has been made very sensitive for obvious reasons. But then religion is supposed to be a personal thing.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
And so the state and religion should be separate, don't you think?
No, they should be. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria, we pretend to say they are separate. And it is to that extent that the move by the Seaman Abbas to lead prayers, did he commandeer the boys to go and pray with him? If he did that, then look, and then
is it the norm? And for that, is it the norm? Is it the common practice?
Okay, that's another question.
Yeah.
But even if it were, was it the right time for that to be done? Because when you are a soldier and you are being sent on a mission, your primary responsibility is the mission.
The mission, yeah. You
cannot say that I'm a doctor and we've entered the operating room to do surgery.
Because in the military, it is said you obey orders first before complaining.
So this is where, but my church is doing 100 days fasting and we normally break by 6 o'clock. The surgery has started around 5:30. And when it is 6 o'clock, you leave the patient in the theater and say you want to go and first break your fast with 1 hour with 1 hour prayer before you come back. You that's the responsibility.
Yeah.
We are living in this country like we're not civilized. And I find it very wanting.
it's about the choices we make.
No, very, very frankly, because if you are at the battlefront and it wasn't the opportune moment, why do you command, assuming that was the case? Why do you go to the battlefront and your primary duty is to call for prayer? And if you are so wrong to have done so, was your boss also right to summarily put you behind bars and you'll be there for 6 years?
But
the punishment is as curious and weird and bizarre
and yet you are told care must be taken, so punishment does not exceed crime.
The crime, yes.
But as I said at the beginning of this discourse, we are almost 64 years as a country, a nation. And in 64 years, we haven't traveled much.
No, come on, frankly, we have not.
And more so in a 21st century world.
Nigeria's pace at this journey will make a legend, a track, an athletics legend of a snail. Because we have moved very.
We make the snail a sprinter.
Yes, a sprinter because because of our movement. It has been really bad. Frankly, it hasn't been what it ought to be. And I, for one, I imagine why leadership has not been able to put out the markers for Nigerianness, if there's a word like that. Put out the markers for greatness. Put out the markers for where we're heading. Look, for crying out loud, religion isn't even the reason we're where we are. We are not more religious than the
papacy,
than the more the more prosperous countries of the world.
Yeah,
check it out. Only that they found a rhythm around it. But we are not more religious than China, than Japan. We are not.
China, which is predominantly Buddhist.
Even
Japan, Shintoist.
Even the Saudis. Are you more Muslim and Islamic than the Saudis? You could never be. Are you more evangelical Christian than Americans? You could never be. When we borrowed.
So what statement are we trying to make?
I think that the problem we have is that we've not found the Nigerian essence. We've not found it. We've not found.
If we would
ever, yes, because we've not found Nigeria. We've not found the Nigerian. There's no charter. Awolowo wrote a book called Path to Nigerian Greatness, right? There was a time when I think in the New York Times editorial of 18 something, the paper was saying, the New York Times was saying that Germany, that there were a lot of fiefdoms, tiny of Germans, but there was no cohesive German state, which meant that they needed to now come together to look for an adhesive that could draw Germans into a Germany.
Bind everything together.
Into a Germany, which they did. And I did say that in the way in which we have ethnic Australians, Germans, Indians, and so on, Nigeria didn't have people that were organically Nigerian. But they can become. They can very easily become.
Yeah, because we are not more multinational like America. America is a country of so many nationalities.
Yes. What
less so here.
Yes, what we failed to do. I mean, as early as America's 8th president, that's how far I can go back. The first president, Washington; second president, John Adams; third president, Thomas Jefferson; fourth president, I'm trying to pick the name, but the 8th president is I think Martin Van Buren. You see the name Van. He was Dutch. The Roosevelts are Dutch by origin. Okay, so these are the people that early enough determined what course of nationhood they are going to take. Sadly, ours is not as bad as its result is, but people have sat back at the helms of at the wheel to deliberately despoil it, and to deliberately, by choice, continue to cook up problems that, rather than that, Problems that try to mystify the answer. You know, so there are people in this life who, when you give them the answer to a problem, they take a problem to the answer instead of taking the answer. For them, it is answer to problem instead of problem to answer. And I think that by sheer numbers, like somebody said one time, the wolves have overrun our stead. This is the bane of the Nigerian problem. Otherwise, it shouldn't be a problem. If somebody led prayers when he shouldn't be leading prayers, you punish him and then let him go. To waste his life by this is more like the august ego.
The bystander Cyril at this point is wondering if it is too late for us to chart that course we are talking about. Is it too late?
No. It's not late. It's never late. You see, the thing is this: for any people who have come to an agreement and an understanding of wherever they are headed, believe me that from the day they began that journey, they're already there. Just like it will take time to manifest it in the eyes of reality. Otherwise, from the day they, countries have made it. America, we are only 64 years old. America, between 1776 and imagine 1776, 1 year, more than 100 days later, they went to war. America.
1865 or so.
Yes, almost more than a year later, they went to war. You can imagine, you think that they had journeyed very far to fall back into a civil war, but they did. They fought a war. So, for us also, I think we've gone through enough that should enable us to chart a path. I mean, at 60, you've been there, seen that. You've been there, done that. The question is, do we have leadership that can steer? Because
a new course.
At the risk of dragging the matter into higher places, this sort of issue requires presidential intervention. Not that the president should get involved in it, but this is part of it.
Essentially because the world is watching.
Yes, and two, because you see, religion, this so-called issue of secularism, is part of what forms in Nigeria the national question. So how we handle this will give us a compass. Yes, into this religion and the state. We have institutions of government. So many of them. You go and look for. If you went on certain days, they'll tell you that they've all gone to pray. Now, I have no issues with that. But you see, maybe to solve that, we need to now tie remuneration to performance. So, yes. So if you did, let people. We are not against you doing what you want to do.
I think all this is part of charting a new course.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be in the charter. It was. I remember when I said, I'm a Muslim, and I'm not against lawyers and my chairman is going to pray. He said, but it is not written the times. He said 5 times a day, but he didn't say this. So don't leave my work and go and do what you want. When you're done with work, you have the liberty to go but don't use my work time. So this, you see, somehow again, people can use that as a buffer, as some kind of iron dome against what's the word now? Iron dome, to protect their own interest in the work, in the workplace. To say, so anytime you raise an issue, they use that one as a cover. Can any serious progressive country allow that? I think that one of the things Nigeria should adopt as state philosophy should be progressivism. So if you are, I mean, we will sit down and have discussions, because in the north and in the south of Nigeria, you have people that have similar conservative tendencies and progressive tendencies. The problem is the number of people that subscribe to a particular tendency more. When they are more from your side, it looks as if that whole area are full of progressives or that whole area full of conservatives. But believe me, if you can look at the elements that are for progress in both sides, a village in the north picked out a cleric for discouraging people from going to school. The whole village came out and said, "Get out of our community. You're not a force for good." They drove him away. So can we borrow a leaf from that and can we say that yes, every child must go to school? That community should be in the spotlight, frankly speaking, because it is what you accentuate that has the ability to become normal. And set the standard for every other person.
Well, the good thing is you have said it is never too late to go back to the drawing board.
It's never too late.
but are we willing to toe the path? You know,
That's the question.
Religion. Now, in taking this thing home, the average Nigerian must know that religion is a personal thing. They say where my handshake stops, something else. Where my rights stop, your rights will begin. You know, it's measure for measure.
Yes, where your rights stop, that's where my rights begin. Where my rights start, where yours stop. So we must learn, we must understand,
and we must begin to unlearn many things.
Certain things. For example, you know that there was a time when terrorists attacked the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna. What happened? It was at the time of prayer. They used to throw their doors open, and every time Dick and Harry could come and pray. Christians hold programs, block roads, block major roads, block arterial roads. People can't move because of church services. There's double parking. You know what I mean? Double parking, the whole area is jammed. There are parts of Lagos when on Fridays you can't pass because Muslims are.
And on Sundays too. Serious.
No, that's what I said. Churches.
I
said
understand.
It now. Yes, now. So what can we do?
That's a cacophony.
No. So what can we do? Is not, imagine that there are neighborhoods in this state where it is the sound of the funnel that wakes them up. If you know what I mean. 5 a.m. whenever you start hearing these things don't happen in civilized countries. We go to small Rwanda here, and we say Rwanda. But in Rwanda, if you hold in a religious, you must put acoustics to pack the place.
But I thought at the time Lagos State had a law punishing.
But as this
no. But okay.
If you say if we put
a few mosques and churches were
and then don't put a funnel on the tower. That's nuisance. Make sure. Look, what we need is compliance. Compliance.
Because if you ask me, Cyril, we have enough laws to punish, but look at this tendency to not punish wrongdoing, which we have discussed.
I have told you that this case may die a natural death, because this one.
In natural death means nothing will happen.
Of course.
Oh.
Well, there you have it.
So, in taking this home, let's do so, because I know the producer has had enough. So, how do we take it from the top?
The president, even if he won't be personally involved in this matter, should.
His father figure is commander-in-chief.
Yes, he should keep a very keen eye on how this, and then intervene basically and tell us where some things begin.
Yeah.
And where
to apply the brakes.
Yes, because again, he's commander-in-chief. But both the person who wanted to pray, who led prayers, if it was the wrong time, must be punished, and the superior who willfully locked somebody behind bars must now himself be locked up.
But Cyril, you know, we are not passing any moral judgment here. Essentially, because the chief of general staff, chief of defense staff rather, General Christopher Musa, has become an interested party. So let's wait for the coming days. I don't see this slipping by. I don't. Okay. I may be wrong. But thank you, Cyril, for your time.
My pleasure.
We have broached the subject enough. Let the debate continue in your part of town. But please know that religion is a personal thing. Religion and state must observe a neutrality, the neutrality element between them, so we can have harmony. Thank you, Cyril, for coming.
My pleasure, Citizen Jones.
We are out of here. So until the next time, this is yours sincerely, Citizen Jones, saying bye-bye now.